My first symptoms really revolved around falling, and that was a result of having like weakness in my left leg. It was kind of interesting because you'd be walking along, then all of a sudden that left knee would just give out, and you go down, and you say, "Oh, what was that about?" But as time went on, the falling continued, and you actually end up with the possibility of hurting yourself. And I did actually hurt a finger, and it just propels you on at that point to find out exactly what's going on. I started with my primary care physician, and we had a discussion on, again, the falling. And she referred me for a vascular Doppler study. For some reason, physicians always seem to assume, first off, that there's something vascular going on. And after the test came back negative, she referred me to a general neurologist, and we did a nerve conduction study. And he ended up saying, in his opinion, I had motor neuron disorder. And I think he was just being nice, and he didn't want to say ALS, is what I think he was assuming. So he referred me to a specialist at the University of Chicago who actually deals with ALS. I guess I could say his name, Dr. Roos. And Dr. Roos, whenever you go to a specialist, the first visit is at least an hour. And we ended up with the session that lasted over 4 hours because he was on the trail and he of a diagnosis, and he just didn't want to give up. So we did another nerve conduction study, and he came back and he said, well, the good news and the bad news. The good news is you don't have ALS. The bad news is I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm assuming that it's a disease called IBM, and Inclusive Body Myositis. So that was his presumptive diagnosis, and we moved on from that point to actual biopsy. And a couple weeks later, the biopsy came back positive for Inclusive Body Myositis. You know, you look at the biopsy pictures and you see the little vesicles inside the cell, and so I'm assuming that's where you get the name Inclusive Body, because there are some absolute changes in the cell that leads to this particular disorder. So that's how I was diagnosed. I mean, at that point, I was actually still walking, maybe with a little limp, but nothing that would preclude me from doing my daily activity. I had not. It was completely new to me, so I had to do a lot of research and investigation, a lot of questions. I actually found the myositis site and did a lot of reading from there, or I actually looked at the medical literature that's available to me, and really did an in-depth investigation of inclusive body myositis. I had discussions with some of my other physicians on the team, and for some reason they just, one in particular wanted to always call it polymyositis. Oh, you just have polymyositis. So we had this running discussion back and forth. Is it polymyositis or is it something different? But nothing but support for me in terms of my educational experiences and learning more about it. I found that anyone that you talk to, their first question when they see you is, well, what's going on with you? So I got to the point where I would say, just Google IBM. Make sure you Google IBM disease, because if you Google IBM, the company is going to come up. And so that was my quick way of getting people to have a better understanding and appreciation of what the disease entailed. There's a nice, tight little paragraph under, when you Google IBM disease under Google, that gives a good overview of the progressive nature of the disease and the muscles involved. Well, that's a good question. It's been a gradual change. Like I said before, when I first was diagnosed, I was still riding my bike I was president of a cycle club, a bicycle club, and we used to ride miles. I mean, yeah, it was didn't go a couple days without me riding my bike. Something was wrong. So I did that as long as I could until I got to the point where I couldn't get on the bike anymore. Um, so it's been more of moving things out of my life and substituting in more of a sedentary lifestyle. Um, so there's been some major changes. I don't play golf anymore. I don't go for my walks. I don't run. I don't ride the bike. So there's a lot of don'ts. But what I do now is I just try and live every day for the best I can. Well, I think most people just automatically assume that you're going to be depressed. I think people need to realize that there is life after diagnosis with inclusive body myositis. I think one of the most remarkable things I learned is that there is no increased mortality. So you can live with IBM. It's not like some other say motor neuron diseases where your life expectancy is cut short. So I think that's important to know that there are physical things that are going on, but in terms of living life, you can live life with inclusive body myositis. Well, I would like to see a drug developed that, I mean, at this point, if I recovered 10, 20% of my strength, I would be happy with the increase of 10, 20% of my strength. It's really a matter of being able to ambulate. Um, I mean, simple things like rolling over in the bed or getting up from your wheelchair or walking across the room. I mean, there are things that at this point I need help in doing. I think that um, so anyway, that's kind of where I'm going.